Access denied. Access granted. Access granted. Access granted.
Today, we are going to talk about the multidimensional array or two-dimensional arrays in Java. So basically, when we say two-dimensional array, it's an array of arrays. Meaning if we have one-dimensional arrays having the same data type, we can actually combine it in one two-dimensional arrays. Now, how are we going to declare a two-dimensional arrays in Java? Okay, in line number 10 to 13, these are all a valid syntax in declaring and instantiating an arrays in Java. It's like having a matrix, 3 by 3 for example, with 3 rows and 3 columns. So when Java executes this statements, this declaration and instantiation, somewhere in memory, we already have numbers 0, 0 as our first element up to numbers 2 as our last element. So it's like having a table like this when we declare 3 by 3. Okay, and then when we traverse the two-dimensional array, we normally start from the first row, first column, followed by the first row, second column, and first row, third column. Take note of the indexes. We have 0, 0, 0, 1, and then 0, 2. Then after that, the next step is to either initialize or assign values to rows to the second row, first column, second row, second column, until the last row and last column. Okay, now how are we going to initialize array element? Just like a one-dimensional array, we can actually manually initialize it. For example, we want to initialize it by 1, 3, 5. These are add numbers. So we put 1, 3, 5 in the first row, for example. This one is for the second row and another for the third row. Just like one-dimensional array, we can also loop through an array using a for loop. But this time, if you want to assign values to it, to initialize values in our two-dimensional array, we use nested for loop. Okay, now for you to better understand it, let me trace the example that we have here. Okay, so we have a nested for loop here, rows 0, rows less than or less than 3, or we can also use, for example, if we have declared variables there, or if you want to use the length of an array, for example, okay, you can actually use that. But okay, let's try to trace this one now first. Okay, when we, for example, we are now on the value of rows is 0, and then is 0 less than 3 true. So that means to say we will execute the first, the second, or the inner for loop. Okay, and then calls equals 0 again here, and then is calls less than 3, for example, true. So we are going to assign this to the first element, which is numbers 0 0 based in the values on here. If we're going to substitute a 0 0 as the values of rows and columns, so we are going to assign now values here. So 0 this time is calls this time the value is 0 times 2 is 0 plus 1, so the final initial value in our first element is 1, and then after that calls plus plus, so this will become now 1, and then it's calls less than 3, so true. So for example 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 3, so we have now 3 in 0 0 1 0 1. Okay, so something like that, and then plus plus, this will become now 2 is 2 less than 3, true. So this time we're talking calls 2 times 2 4 plus 1 5. Okay, and then calls plus plus, so this will become 3 is 3 less than 3. Of course false already, so it's about time to go up. Rows plus plus, rows will become 1. Okay, and then it's about time again to work on the second row, because this time the value of rows is 1. So 1 0, for example 1 1 1 2 1 3, things like that. So it's like having the values 1 3 and then 5. If we're going to finish this 1 and then 3 and then 5. So that's how it works, and that's how we assign values to array elements. Now if we now know how to declare, how to instantiate, how to initialize, how about if you're going to print out or access the values in our two-dimensional arrays? Okay, just like one-dimensional array, we can just print out using system.out.print or println, for example, and just specify the index number of our array from 00 to 11. Okay, and at the same time we can use the nested for loop if you want to access all the array elements. If you want to print out by just having this code, a nested for loop, for example. That's how it's easy to access the array elements. Now let me show you the example of our two-dimensional array. For instance, we have here a declaration of an array with the size row size is 5 and then 3, so meaning we have 5 rows and 3 columns. So this is an example of an initialization again, and this one is the declaration and instantiation. So we can use this one. The advantage of this is that every time, since we use the variables here, so we can just resize the size, the row size and the column size of our array. Okay, now so to initialize, for example, we want to initialize the values by having this assignment statement. Okay, so what I did in here is that I'm just trying to assign the add numbers. Okay, add numbers starting from 1. Okay, I have here rows plus 1, which means that we choose this, we assign this values if we are on the first row. Okay, if the case is 2, meaning we are in the second row. So we have another set of expressions there, and then this one is an example of values within row 3, and then from row 4 to 5, for example. So we will execute the default statements. Okay, and then just to print out all the values of the array, we just need the nested arrays, and then as simple as this, by just specifying the rows and columns there, and then simple output. Okay, so let us run this sample code. Okay, so here we go. This is now the example output of our program using two-dimensional array, having the 5 rows and 3 columns. Okay, now another example of declaration and instantiation with initialization in two-dimensional array is by having this syntax. Just like, again, one-dimensional array, we can declare an array with values all in one line. So we use this type of syntax if before the program execution, we know already the values of our array element. So we call this as initializer list. And then these groupings now, these are arrays, one-dimensional arrays. We put in an array. That's why we call it, again, array of arrays. Okay, so by having this type of syntax, we mean that we have 3 rows and 3 columns with values on each row. These are the values for the first row, for the second row, and for the third row. Okay, now if we are going to determine the index number of this one, so this is still the row 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, for example. So it's like having here 1, 3, 5. So the 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. Then the 7, 9, 11 is already in the second row. Okay, 7, 9, 11. And then this one, 13, 15, 17 is in the row 3. As simple as that. Okay, and same also if you want to access or print out the elements of two-dimensional array in Java individually, you can just use this type of syntax, or we can access it again by using the nested for loop. Now let me show you the sample program of using this type of syntax. So I have here the numbers again, two-dimensional arrays having values on 2, 4, 6, for example. So if we have this type of initializer list, how many rows do we have now? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We have 6 rows and 3 columns. Okay. And then if we want to display, so this is the example of an initialization, a declaration and initialization of our two-dimensional array. So if we want to display the output of this array elements, okay, we can use the nested for loop, just like this. If we want to run this one, we get this output now. Okay, that's how simple it is to declare, to initialize, to access array elements using for loop.